Testing. Hello. Yellow. Yellow. Hello. Hello. That sounds okay. Hello. 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 I can turn voice up a bit. Where's the voice? Here's the voice. Okay. Hello. Flipping. Hello. Hello. Better? Okay. Okay, cool. Still better, not too much. Okay, great. Okay, yeah, so I'm explanuarying Droid, which is this system of modules I've got here, and they're programmed with this firmware. You can see at the top I have a virtual representation of what of the same modules that I've got in my rack. Yeah, you should be able to see that. And at the moment that is one master, one G8, one X7, one M4, and a P28B. What that means is the master is the only one you actually need. So it's got 8 ins, 8 outs, and an SD card which holds the firmware. If you get the X7 MIDI expander, you can program it with USB, do MIDI over USB, do MIDI in and out on TRS to like 5-pin DIN, and you get 4 additional gate outputs. The G8 gives you 8 additional gate outputs. So that's all actual like I/O, CV I/O. M4 is 4 motorized faders that you can set up to do various things. And P2B8 is 2 pots and 8 buttons. Oops. 2 pots and 8 buttons, which you can set up to do whatever. Should say if you have any questions, stick them in the chat, because it's much easier to answer questions than it is to just explain stuff. Cool. All right, I'm going to bring up the firmware, and I'm going to send this with nothing in it to the droid. So at the side here, there's like an activate button. Can you see that well enough? Let's just make this full screen. Transform. Okay, so there's an activate button that just sends whatever you're programming to droid. So activate. Now droid is doing nothing. It's blank. Yeah, does nothing. Along the side here, we also have a circuit, which is all your possible CV processing, generating MIDI options. There's a whole bunch of them. So modulation, there's contour, ADSR thing, there's LFOs, random, spring simulation, transient, which is like a math style function generator, sequencing, it's got algorithmic sequencer like qubit bloom, that kind of thing, arpeggios, Euclid things, motor sequencer, polytool, kind of a Metropolis style sequencer, CV processing is a crossfader, a looper, matrix mixer, a standard mixer, a non-musical quantizer, it's like a basic quantizer, a Q, which is like a shift register like you'd find in a Turing machine. You can save lists of things essentially in there. A sample and hold, a slew limiter, and a switch in the CV processing section. Controls gives you a bunch of options to do with the controller modules. So the motor ones, the buttons, the pots, gives you useful, interesting things you can do with those to kind of scale them or map them or make them do useful things for your patch. Clocks and triggers, so it's got Bernoulli gate, so that's like a coin flip style thing. Burst generator, clock divider, multiplier, shuffler, another shuffly thing, and a trigger delay. Math and logic, it's got an AD and a DAC, comparator, like a mult, exponential to linear thing, logic and math, and the math's got every possible mathematical function you might want. Pitch has chords, a kind of pitch scaling thing, Minphonion, which is a kind of fully featured quantizer thing, an octave scaler, and a super just perfect intonation tool, and some various MIDI settings. So MIDI file player, MIDI in, MIDI out, MIDI through. Alright, so let's start with something super duper basic. I'm just going to grab an LFO circuit from here. Just click that, and then LFO shows up. If you want to see all the available parameters, there's a parameter button here, which opens up this nice window. So in the blue you can see all the possible inputs, and then the red has got all the possible outputs. So for an LFO you've got the kind of obvious rate and hertz, which are just different ways of controlling the speed of it. You've got a tap tempo input, so you can assign a button to that and just have it tap the right thing. Randomized to something that I don't know what it does. Unipolar or bipolar thing. A phase adjustment, pulse width, skew, sync, and a waveform selection input. So you could CV control over the waveform of this LFO, and then various outputs: square, sawtooth, triangle, ramp, paraboloid, sine, and cosine. So if I go back to the main page here, I can set the LFO to be, say, 5 Hertz. Level affects the range, so 0 is 0 volts and 1 is 10 volts. Or if you want to be more specific, you can go in and set it to be like 0 volts to 3 volts. I think that's right. Sure, let's try that. Bipolar, yep, let's have it bipolar. And we will take the, let's take the triangle output. And we will assign that to output 1. I'll hit activate and save it. Okay, and now if I change my camera over, you should be able to see I have an LFO coming out of output 1. That's quite bright on the camera, but you can see it. That's flashing away at 5 Hz. And I can grab that cable. Get a patch cable, and I'm going to patch that into I'll patch that into plats somewhere, right? So I'm just going to patch plats into my mixer. That doesn't sound too good. Okay, I'm not going to patch plats. I'm going to patch Troika. Oh no, I have noise. Bad cable. I have a bad cable. Okay, I had a bad cable. We're back. Okay, so that's just one channel of Troika coming out, and the LFO is just going to go to the, let's see. LFO to the FM input on Troika. Simple. If I want it to go faster, I can change this to like 10 Hz. Yeah? Or I can assign, say, a pot to the control of that. So I'll show you the display. I can set the input to be pot 1, and I'm going to times that by 10. There we go. So now I've got an LFO with control from a pot. Yes, it is. Yeah, again, any questions, stick them in the chat. It's easier to answer questions than to just chat for ages. Equally, I could assign that to a fader rather than a pot. So let's do that. Same thing, just assigned to a fader. All right, so that's like the super basics. You can use it to do all kinds of CV manipulation, whatever, right? So let's do a sequencer. So I'm going to use Algo Sequencer, which is a built-in generative sequencer. Need to show you the display. Oop. All right, Algo Sequencer. This is quite a big circuit. So first we need to get a clock. So I can do that with an LFO clock. I'll make that like 4 Hertz. And we'll take the square wave. I'm going to use what's like an internal patch cable to patch between the circuits inside Droid clock. No reset, don't need any of these. Activity will set to this pot. Sure, variation will set to this pot. Deja vu morphs. We'll set the pitch to output 1. Trigger I'm going to set to a patch cable, internal patch cable. And I'm going to also add an envelope using that trigger as the input. And I'm going to set the ADSR to each of the faders. And the output of that is going to be output 2. All right. I'm going to send that to Droid. Okay. So that's a sequencer built. I just need to do the actual patching now. So I'm going to patch. I'll show you on the wide screen. Okay. Okay. So output 1 is the pitch. That's going to go into volt per octave on Platts. I'll patch the output of that to my mixer. Bad cable today. What's going on? Okay, so I've got pitch. Very good pitch. And the envelope's going to go into my VCA. Audio into the VCA. Then VCA out into the mixer. Okay. It's a sequencer. And I'm controlling the envelope going to the VCA with the faders here. And this pot affects the activity of the sequence. So if I turn that down, not many note gets through. If I turn it up, lots more notes go through. I'm actually going to up the speed a little bit. Let's make it quicker. So it's kind of like a Turing machine, kind of Turing machine-y. I can add a parameter in here which lets me go to the next pattern. So it's actually more like lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of Turing machines all lined up next to each other. And you can choose to go to the next one or go back to a previous one. So I can then go to the next pattern. And it's a different pattern. quantizer in. Go to the firmware again. I can go circuit. Let's grab a quantizer. Bam. Input's going to be the pitch output of the sequencer. Root note is like the root, so 1 is C, I think. Degree is the scale, so we'll set it to the first scale. And we'll allow the first, third, fifth, and seventh notes through. Let's get rid of these. And then the output goes to output 1 again. Hit go. And now the sequencer is being quantized. And if I want, I can add, I can let the 9th through as well. Let's add that. And again, I can do different scales. And then within Algo Sequencer, it's also got like rolls and things, so you can add ratchets. So rolls, let's say a 10th of the time you can get a roll. Let's try that. I think I also need to add roll count and roll steps. Let's make that a 2. Let's try a 2 on this as well. Go. That's a pretty simple sequencer going with an envelope. Those rolls are pretty quick. Let's turn this down. And again, if I want to change the sequence, I just hit next, goes to the next one. And I'm only using 2 outputs and no inputs. So I could equally, I don't actually have any CV in my case right now, but if I wanted to, I could send CV from my case into Droid to control any of the ADSR parameters, or the next pattern button, or the number of fills, or the amount of activity in the patch. I'm going to turn the clock down a little bit. It's going pretty fast. Yeah, you can hear the rolls a bit better there. Any questions? Any questions in the chat? Yes, rolls are, well, yes, they're quantized to the clock rate of the sequencer. There isn't a master tempo as such. You could have two of these sequencers running on totally different clock rates. In fact, I could do that right now. If I go to here, if I just name this section to sequencer, spell it wrong, I can duplicate this whole section, and it will do its best to assign different controls and different inputs and outputs to match what your previous section was doing. So it's not being able to do it with all the controls because they're already being used by some things, but I can match those up again. And it's assigned the outputs, and I'm going to make this one go at let's make this one go at 7 Hz instead. Let's try that. Okay, I've now just made a second sequencer the same but going faster. It'll take me a second to patch it up, but I can do that. Alright, it sounds terrible, but that's two completely independent sequences going at the same time. If I set them to the same tempo, I mean, they're not in tune, but, you know. And now I can step these through their patterns separately. So now the second sequencer is on the second pattern, but I can step the first sequencer into the second pattern as well, and they'll match up. Because they get seeded. There's like a saved seed for patterns that get generated each time. Of course, it sounds better if you add a bit of reverb afterwards. Hello! I mean, that's pretty nice. I think it's probably less useful if you want to program in a specific sequence, but it's very good if you just want some stuff, you know. What else should we add? Let's do just a really long, slow transient. So I'll bring up the circuit. Actually, let's do a new page, new section. Oops, spot wrong. And we'll add a transient generator. So this is just a slope generator. So I want it to start at 0 volts. I want it to end at 5 volts. And I want that to take 27 seconds. I want it to loop, and I want it to reach a peak and then come back down, which I can add in ping pong. And I want that to come out of output 5. Go. I do have very tiny hands, so that is true. I've got some really slow modulation. Let's duplicate that, have another one come out here, and let's make this one take only 4 seconds. Go. This is the kind of patch I've been playing with, except I've also been adding MIDI clock, so I'm clocking Ableton from Droid, and then having drums happening inside of Ableton. It's pretty nice. Don't know how well you can see. The feedback on the numbers is pretty good. The camera's a bit picking up light too much, but you can see feedback on the voltage coming out, and I believe you can also essentially use any buttons you have as a screen, essentially. So you can set them up to show like steps in a sequence, things like that. I think I would like to get rid of this. questions in the chat on droidy things. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, you kind of could replace a lot of stuff. It doesn't do any audio, right? So you still need other sound making modules and effects modules and mixers and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of, CV functionality, it's kind of PAMsy. It's like PAM's workout, but just does everything. Swapping a PAM out. Yes, so I think the downsides are, for the size of PAMs, you would only get one master, which doesn't have any control built into it, which is okay. But the fact that it can do, you could set it up as 8 quantizers at once. And of course, when it's programmed, it doesn't need to be attached to the computer at all. You can just unplug it and you're good to go. Take that to the gig or whatever. So it's not as quick to use as PAMs, but it does do more stuff. And yes, you can tap tempo. Let me do that. I will take this LFO. I can add tap tempo. It's going to be on this button. And I'll clock both sequencers from the same thing so it doesn't go horribly out of time. Oh. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, again, it's like Ornament and Crime. I've not used the TU. So that's me doing tap tempo. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. You'd probably also want to have like a reset if you're trying to get it going time and stuff, but I'm pretty sure you can do that. Yep, there's a reset input. So I set a reset to 4, button 4, and I do the same thing over here. Parameter, reset, button 4. No, those aren't buttons, those are just like visual feedback. Controls on the master, but there are 8 CVNs, so you could set them to be controls for. Yeah, they're really bright on this camera. They don't look nearly that bright in real life. You can also set the length of these sequences. So where's that length? Up to 64. Let's make it 64. I think it really shines when you want to do something specific, and then you build that, and then you just have that in your system and you play with it for a while. Because in a sense, it functions a little bit like VCV Rack in that if you want to have 100 LFOs, you just copy and paste your LFO 100 times. You can do the same thing in here. And it speaks MIDI, so you could take a MIDI out into, I mean, whatever, any bit of MIDI kit, and also play the sequence through that. You know, clock a drum machine, or sequence any synth, or you know, whatever. Yeah, the interface is pretty good. There are a few little quirks, I would say. So the fact that it uses the numbers 0 to 1 to represent 0 volts to 10 volts is kind of weird. But if you can see down the side here, across from the kind of parameters of the circuit, every input also has a multiplier, or like a scalar, or a attenuverter, you could call it, and an offset, like a plus or minus offset. So for every single control you have an attenuator and an offset straight away, just built in. You can also, if you prefer, where is it? You can write stuff directly as code, which might be quicker if you get really good at it, but I just haven't learned all the things. I don't believe it can store multiple patches at once. I don't think so. I mean, conceivably you could take multiple SD cards with you and just swap them out. That would be pretty quick. I think that might be the way you have to do it. Or I think they might be working on that, possibly. Because I agree that would be pretty useful. Or any final questions before I finish up? Oh, I didn't even talk about the motorized faders, but the faders are motorized if you want them to be. They don't have to be, but they can be. Which means you can save. In fact, shall I just do it quickly? Let's just do it. Faders, circuit, controls, fader bank. No notches. This should hopefully work. Set this up so I now have buttons 5, 6, 7 and 8 selecting. Oh no, maybe not. No. Why not? Sugar. This one's a little bit fiddly to get going. I have done it before. Not sure why that's not working, but it does work, trust me. Let's try this one. All right. There you go. I apologise for this patch, by the way, but you know, stick some drums on it. Yeah, so you can kind of use that as an additional visual feedback, which is pretty neat. And I think you can have up to 8 sets of faders, maybe. I'd have to check that, but you can have a lot of faders. It will drink all your power and take all your money. So, you know. Yeah, they're really quick. They're really quick. And there was quite a lot of chat of like them drawing too much power, but I've never ever had them like stall. The only thing that you do need to be aware of is that when you first power on the system, it takes a good 4 or 5 minutes before the motors and the faders will do anything. And then also when you power down the system, to show you, when you power down the system, these need to discharge back through to, I guess, just heat, whatever. So, I'd not recommend taking any modules out until this is fully discharged, otherwise you could get a shock and or blow something up. You can see can you see? There are lights along the bottom which show you like the discharge stage. And then when you power them up, they do a similar thing. They go through these series of lights. These lights are also addressable, so you can pick the color of those. And they're also like buttons, so you can touch these little touch pads and you get 4 buttons on there as well. Yes, huge caps on the back of these. But yes, I think I'm going to wrap up now. That's a little bit about it. It's very cool. I think even just having a master in your system probably get you out of a lot of scrapes. In that kind of PAMS way where you're just like, oh, I need a bunch of LFOs. It gives you that, pretty cool. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you another time.